Hello, everyone. Welcome to Webinar Wednesday. I'm really excited to be here with you today because this is an opportunity for us to offer a little bit of training. It's an opportunity for us to allow everyone to participate in our webinar series. Our webinars are an opportunity for many of you out there to get a little bit of training, to get a little bit of ideas, and also for me to give you some practical advice on things that you can do in your business to grow, in your business to feel more sound. And also, sometimes what you need is maybe a little nudge, maybe you need a little bit of recommendations to help you move forward. And I really hope that these sessions and these live webinars can truly be impactful and also truly help you get where you want to go, get where you want to be, and maybe be where you should be in your business. All right. So let's throw up the slides on the screen. I just want to kind of walk through a couple of concepts today, walk through what we're going to cover today, and also give you a little bit of perspective on how you can expand your business. For many of you out there, when you're thinking about your coaching business, when you're thinking about what you currently do in your business and how you coach people, one of the challenges that you may have is how to scale, how to expand, especially for anyone out there who's a solopreneur. For many of us, we start our businesses and it's just us. We're kind of this person with all these different hats on. We're this person who has to really learn a lot of skills to run your business. And what can happen is when you think about the idea of expanding, when you think about the idea of generating more revenue, when you think about the idea of being able to help more people, what can happen is you start to figure out, like, where is that extra time going to come from? How can I accomplish this? Because right now I'm working hard. I'm maybe even working at my max, or I'm already feeling overwhelmed. So the question is, how do I take my coaching business to that next level? How do I make that next kind of leap forward? And what I want to do today is help you with that. I want today to help you make that jump. Now, for some of you, you may be saying, well, Stephanie, I don't know if I'm in a growth mode yet. Stephanie, I'm still trying to get my grounding. I'm still trying to really understand what I should be doing in my coaching business. I still think the ideas we're going to present to you today are going to matter because I am talking about how you should be prioritizing, how you should be focusing, and how do you make sure that what you're building truly serves you, serves your business, and serves your community. So therefore, this is a good, webinar, I would say, to attend, even if you're still figuring out your coaching business, because it allows you to think about how to prioritize so that you can get the results that you need. All right. So that's what we're going to be diving into. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, for some of you, this may be your first webinar you joined us on, and maybe you aren't as familiar with me. Maybe I'm a new face in front of you. And if I am, I want to say hello. This is really an exciting opportunity for me because I just love being able to help vegan business owners, entrepreneurs, anyone out there that's really trying to take their vegan passion and pull it into their career. I want to be able to support individuals out there. I think it's so important for us and this movement to move forward is to make sure we have support, make sure we are helping each other grow. And one of the ways I do that is by offering these free webinars once a month so that everyone can get their hands on a little bit of training, a few ideas and things that can help you move forward. So welcome, welcome. So what are we going to talk about? Where should you focus? What should you be doing? And the key here is I want to start talking about marketing. I want to talk about the idea that to expand, to grow, sometimes what you have to do is you have to focus. You have to kind of really hone in on what you should be doing. And I wanted to spend a little bit of time here on the marketing side before I start talking about things you can do in your business, is because for many of us, the marketing that we do just eats away at all of our time. The marketing we do often kind of pulls us either sometimes away from supporting customers and clients, or it becomes that endless list of tasks that can derail us or keep us from focusing on what's important. So one thing I want to do, and this is really important if you want to scale or you're growing your business, is to make sure you really hone in on specific marketing channels. Now, the reason I say pick 4 core marketing channels is there's so many different ways to market. There's so many different tools out there. And even within each tool, especially something like social media, there's a ton of platforms within it, even within things like email marketing. There's a ton of strategies within it. And what can happen is you can have an endless list of ideas when it comes to your marketing. And when I find the best way to move forward, the best way to really get expansion and growth, especially as a solopreneur, because remember, we have a limited amount of time that you can work. There's a limited amount of time that you are available. And I also don't want you to work in like 24/7 or that concept that you're always working. So therefore, I want you to start to prioritize. I want you to really sit down and say, what are those true marketing channels that I want to master for my business? I like to start with these 4. These are my biggest recommendations for anyone out there that's having trouble focusing or they're trying to figure out where to start, because I find this gives you a very good kind of variety of ways to reach your audience and nurture prospects. And what I mean by that is when you're doing things like email marketing, it's a great way to stay in touch. It's a great way to let people know about your products and services, but it's also a great way for you to personalize things because you can go beyond just the newsletter and send people individual emails, and that will still fit in your email marketing strategy. When it comes to social media, I love social media because it's an opportunity for you to be a little bit social, to really be out there interacting with individuals, talking to people. It gives you a chance to build some relationships because it does have some two-way street tools available to you. Plus, it does allow you to reach new people. I love the idea of doing things like live and networking. And this one's kind of a big bucket. When I talk about live and networking, what I mean by that is this could be speaking engagements that you're doing, whether you're starting to ease back or you're in countries or areas that are easing back and allowing people to have events, or if you're doing your events virtually, so you're doing summits, or this can be simply getting interviews. This is the idea of getting that exposure. The purpose of this is people need to see you in action. People need to see you live, not just recorded, not just polished, not just something that you practiced 50 gazillion times and took all of the outtakes out. What happens is, as a coach, as a trainer, as a person that's often going to be interacting with your customer in real time, they're going to see you live. The idea is they need to also experience you live through your marketing channels. So that's why I find it's a very important channel for people who are coaches, and also can be a very dynamic channel as a solopreneur. And then the final piece is around content. I love to include content in here because content marketing, once again, huge bucket, all types of strategies you can do. But one of the core things about content marketing and why this is so important for not only coaching businesses, but solopreneurs, is this is a great way to educate. This is a great way to help people understand your methodology. This is a great way for people to understand your approach and also to teach people things, especially if you think your community may need a mindset shift to be able to move forward. If you believe a lot of the transformation, a lot of the change that you're trying to help your clients or your customers achieve require them to think or see the world differently, content can help you do that. Now, here's the thing. Even when I put up 4 here, and for some of you, if 4 is too much, you can definitely choose 3. What I see or hear from a lot of people is they're like, still, Stephanie, that's overwhelming. So what I tell a lot of people is when you're trying to grow and also when you're trying to build, instead of building every marketing channel out there, instead, I want you to take your core channels and determine what is that status quo that you can maintain in that channel. And what I mean by that is if you're going to do email marketing, does that mean 1 email a month or 2 emails a month? And that's just the status quo. It doesn't mean that you won't send out any other emails. It doesn't mean you won't be sporadic at times and maybe send out an extra email. This is just your baseline effort around your social media, your email, your live events, and your content. And I gave you some recommendations here in the slides because what I want you to do is start with a foundation. I don't want you to try to do everything. Instead, if you're able to actually maintain your status quo without it taking all of your time, then we will have time for these growth items that I'm going to recommend to you in a few minutes. And that's going to be the key. So if you're currently using these 4 channels, sit down and look at how much work you're doing in them. How much effort are you putting in them? And do you need to scale back? Do you need to simplify? Instead of being on 5 social media platforms, do you really need to focus maybe on 1 or 2 so that we can drive some success in this channel before we go into expansion? Because that's the thing. Expansion isn't about just doing more. Expansion and scaling is really about the impact or the increase in impact that you're able to obtain by actually expanding. And that's the same thing when you think about these channels. So if you're already overworked, you're doing an email every single week, you're feeling like you're struggling, you're feeling like the business is not going where you need to go, you might need to scale that back to 2 emails a month and then incorporate some of these strategies that I'm going to talk about so that you can get more out of those channels and they can get the results that you need. All right. So let me know how many of you, when I show you these numbers, like posting once a week or 2 emails a month or booking at least 1 interview or speaking event a month or, doing 2 pieces of content a month. Do those numbers scare you? Do those numbers feel like, oh goodness, Stephanie, I didn't realize I could simplify it that much. I thought I had to be in social media every single day. I really want you to think about that. Now, for some of you, you may be like, well, Stephanie, it's working. I'm already there every single day. That channel is producing for me. I don't want to slow that down because it's working for me. And I'm absolutely fully in support of things that are working, things that are yielding results. I'm not asking you to necessarily scale those back, but what I do want to make sure is that you're not overextending yourself and not getting the results. Therefore, what we have to do is scale back, reassess what's going on, create a status quo, and then build from there. Now, for some of you, you may be like, okay, Stephanie, I get it. I can do less. But what am I going to do with that time now that I'm doing less? What am I going to, how am I going to get results? Because doing less doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to get results. And what I want you to do is think about your marketing differently. I want you to think about your marketing instead of it just being the action itself. I wrote an email. I was on social media. I posted. That's not the goal, really. That's just the action that has to happen. What we ultimately have to do is we have to take each one of these channels, and what we'll do is take them one at a time. And we have to turn them into tools that help you create clients and customers. So therefore, when you're thinking about your marketing and you're thinking about the things you're going to do, what you're going to say is, okay, I want to host an event. I want to do a mini event. I want to do a summit. I want to do a webinar. I want to do a workshop. I've heard it's a great way to find customers. I heard it's a great way to drive growth in my business. Or maybe it's something you already do and you continuing to do it. What I want you to do when you're thinking about scaling and expanding is look at what you're doing and saying, what is it yielding and is it getting me results? And what do I need to do differently in those channels so that this channel produces X amount of attendees, X amount of prospects, and X amount of clients? And therefore, when you're thinking about your marketing, you're going beyond just hosting the event as the goal. The goal of the event is to make sure that you're truly building this pipeline and building a place where you can get your attendees, your prospects, and your clients. And before you even start it, you know where you're going. You know the path that you're taking. You know where you want to be. And when you know where you want to be and how that channel contributes to your success, what will happen is you'll get more clarity and you'll know where to expand your activity and where to bring your activity down. And this goes for every single channel. This goes for all those ideas that are bouncing around in your head. This goes for all the things that you thought you were going to do or plan to do. You want to sit down and actually say, okay, if I'm doing social media, what in social media am I doing that helps me generate clients? Yes, I need to post. Yes, I'm going to be responding to comments, but what is the key thing that I'm doing? And the reason you can go down to maybe one post per week is because if you say one of my major strategies in social media is using things like going live to help create prospects and ultimately create clients. Now what happens is you layer this on top of your already once a week posting strategy to build out what you're doing and turn that channel into not just posting and being social on the channel, but having a secret weapon, which I probably need a better term than that, in that channel or in that marketing tool that helps you drive customers. And really making sure that it's not a generic idea or concept. It's not, well, all marketing will help my business grow. Instead, I want you to specifically know that I'm doing social media. This is what I'm doing in social media to drive those clients. And this is where the example would be, okay, I'm going to do 2 live shows a month. My goal with those 2 live shows is not only to educate and support my community, but what I also hope is from those 2 live shows, I'm able to identify 5 prospects. And from that, if I'm getting 5 prospects per week, which is about 20 prospects in a month, can I convert those 20 prospects into clients? That's how I want you to think. That's how your mindset and your mind should shift to. So therefore, when you're thinking about the work you're doing, everything you do yields results. Another good example of that is having a direct marketing or direct messaging strategy. I love social media for the idea of building connections. I love the idea of building relationships and talking to people. However, I want to make sure you can measure that work. It's hard work. It's a lot of work. And some of it is just giving to your community. Some of it is just helping somebody out that you can help. And some of it is really just an opportunity for you to connect with others. But there also has to be a portion of what you do that drives sales. And the question will be, of the 10 to 20 direct messages that you send in a week, how many of those people turn into prospects? Can you get 10 of them to become prospects? And of those 10, can you turn them into clients? Same thing happens with email. You can actually say, hey, I do my emails. I send out my emails with content. I send my emails out about programs that I have, about courses that I have, about coaching opportunities I have. And what you can do is you can say, you know, if there's about 10 people that click on my offer and don't sign up, what I end up doing is sending them personal email follow-ups. And from those personal email follow-ups, what I try to do is identify 5 people that would maybe purchase. And now your marketing is not only delivering, what your marketing is doing is yielding results, yielding tangible results, and helping you identify what you're doing, what you're working on. I also put a booking, speaking or interviews example in here, and also the idea of gathering things like testimonials, adding offers to your content, adding video to your content, so that can help you yield clients as well. So I'm going to take a quick break here because I know for some of you, this might be the slide you want to take a picture of. This might be the slide that you're thinking about using, because the key here is I don't want you to do all 6 of these. I don't want you to try to do it all. Instead, what I want you to do is pick those 4 marketing channels that we talked about in the previous slide. And then I want you to come to a slide like this and choose one of these ideas, one of these things, so that you can enhance the marketing channel that you're already using, the marketing channel that you're already working on. And truly look at that channel and say, can I take one of my channels and turn it into a tool that helps me create a pipeline? Now, for some of you, you may be like, well, how do you get from prospect to client? One of the most common ways to do it as a coach is to set up things like breakthrough calls or discovery calls. So therefore, in these processes, you can always drop links in for people to sign up or set up time with you. The idea is that you will integrate whatever your sales process is into this approach. But the key here is if you can just pluck one of these ideas out and add it to one of your marketing channels, what we can do is grow. What we can do is get that scaling, and actually more, I would probably say that expansion opportunity. And we can take something that might have been a marketing channel that hasn't been necessarily maybe working for you the way you thought it would, but now moving forward, we can reposition the marketing that you're doing to get more out of it. All right. Now that's just the marketing side of things. That's where I wanted to start. But the key here is when we think about expansion, it's not just in marketing. When we think about growth, it's the idea that you have to really determine what in your business, what can you change, shift, or do differently in your business that can generate growth? What is something that's really almost like a dial that you can turn that can help you expand and scale? And I wanted to give you some ideas for a game plan. Now, once again, when I do these webinars, all of you are in different places in your business. All of you are planning and trying different things. So when I give you recommendations, I'm not asking you to do everything. I'm always asking you to pick. So in this example, this is where you may pick one or two of these ideas. Get some success, and then come back to this webinar, check it out again, and pick up another one. So that way, this isn't about you trying to do everything to win, everything to expand, everything so you can spend more time with your customers and clients, which most of us as coaches really, really desire and really, really enjoy. What I want you to do here is I want you to start to think about the idea of what would be your game plan if you wanted to expand your business. What would be the thing that would actually unlock that expansion? And what I want to recommend to you is these 6 ideas. Are these the only 6? Absolutely not. Are there other things you can do? Absolutely. But what I've been trying to do here is make sure that you had a roadmap to start with. All right. So we'll go through these quickly, and then I have individual slides to talk about it. One thing I want you to think about is system and structure. I really want you to think about how do you build some structure around your business, because what you can do is get economy of scale if you do that. We also want to talk about your offers. There's ways to tweak your offers. That's a great way for you to expand because it'll allow you to expand the revenue that's coming in. Another thing you can do is look at the way you do your coaching. Often, by thinking and executing your coaching differently, you can either help more clients, or what you'll be able to do is help clients faster. That will free up time for you to either take on new clients, or by getting better and faster results, maybe that means your offers may change or your pricing may change over time. The other thing is we want to figure out, how do we manage all these tasks? Running a business is just to-do list, to-do list, to-do list. So we want to talk about figuring out a way to reduce the amount of things that are on your list so they can take a little bit less time, or finding the right time to work on them so they're not bogging you down on a daily basis. The other thing is we want to talk about your approach to driving change, your approach to driving scale. Often, many of us are thinking that we're going to do everything, try to get all of it done. And often we have to think about what are the priorities for that month and how do we take your approach one step at a time. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is making sure that you start and finish projects. When you have an idea for your business, when you're picking a game plan changing item in your business, what I don't want you to do is keep starting these ideas, thinking of these ideas, brainstorming ideas, and having this huge laundry list of stuff you could do. Instead, I want you to really figure out what you're actually going to do, what you're actually going to focus on, and how do we build a plan so that once you start something, you finish it. Because the finishing is when you get the results. And what many of us struggle with is that we will often work on so many different projects, work on so many different things that we feel exhausted and overwhelmed and just too much going on. And the reason we feel that way is because we've been working so hard, but we didn't get enough of the projects to the finish line so that the results could start pouring in. So therefore, we're always in work mode. And what I want you to be in is work mode. And then I want you to be able to see and have a moment to look at the results that your work yielded. And that only comes by actually finishing many of the things that you started or prioritizing them and deciding that even if I started this isn't something that still serves my business. So I have to remove it from the list. All right. So got a lot to cover, run through. Once again, this is one of those slides you might want to take a picture of because I highly recommend after this webinar, sit down and decide which one of these you want to move forward with. A lot of times, just circle it, print it out, and this will be a way that you can start to build your game plan. All right. So when we talk about creating structure and systems and so forth, what I want you to do is think about the tasks that you do. Instead of thinking about everything you have to get done, convert that into a workflow. And what do I mean by converting it into a workflow? I mean, instead of thinking that your business is just a kind of summary of things to do, often when you're servicing clients, when you're coaching clients, there are very common things that you do for many of your clients. Some of those things are things we all have to do in the beginning of the process. It's whether you're invoicing them, how do you onboard them, the contracts you need to send, scheduling meetings, having a kickoff meeting, how do you manage communications. A lot of these are common tasks. And instead of always thinking of a new checklist, a new way to get this done every time you bring on a new client or manage a client through this process, I want you to start to document what are all those steps and what can you create that can be your universal guide or tool to use to get it done. An example of that for us is I used to have all these different packages. I had all these different ideas of offers and things that I wanted to be available to my clients. And what would happen is when someone would ask me for a proposal or someone would ask me a recommendation on which service I would offer, I would have to find a ton of different documents, find different things that I had thought about. Some of them were typed up, some of them weren't, some of them were ideas, some of them were actual products I had written. And I was kind of spinning my wheels every time creating kind of a brochure, a document. And what I end up doing now is I have a master brochure. I have a master document, which is kind of like what I'm showing you right here. And what it does is it has every service in it. It's really, I use a third-party tool now because I love tech and it just makes it a little bit easier for me. But even if you're going to use this and create it in a Word document or a Google Doc, that's perfectly fine, or even a PowerPoint. What I ended up doing is creating a massive document that has everything that I offer, everything that I'm going to provide. Now, when I send it to clients, I don't send them everything. It's too much. It's not right for everyone. Everyone is looking for maybe this package or that package. So when it's time for me to send a client a proposal or details about my products or services, based on our conversation, I'm going to pluck out of there 2 options, 3 options, and send that over to them. But because I created the template, because I've designed the template, because I have all the information that's needed in there, maybe an intro, I have some testimonials, I have a little bit of my bio in there. All of those things are already created. When it's time for me to send proposals, all I'm doing is deciding what stays in and what stayed and what is taken out. That only takes me minutes to create. That doesn't take me a long time to create. Where in the past, I would start from a blank sheet of paper and try to build that up for each client. Build it and create it. And what I want you to do is start to think about your business differently and figure out what can you build that are massive documents, that are massive kind of files that has everything ready for you, has these templates ready for you. And all you have to do is break them down to decide if someone gets page 2, 8, 7, and 9, and that's their package. And then you send a personalized email because you still want it to have a personalized approach to it. But the idea is your products and services may not be changing. Now, for some of you, maybe they change a lot, and that's okay. But then I want you to think about, can you create templates for your invoices? Can you create templates for your contracts? Can you create templates where maybe you have a section that you customize, or maybe there's 5 or 6 boxes that you fill in for each individual client? But by starting to think about these things that you're doing over and over and over and turning them into a system and a process, what happens is they become not only less taxing, but if you're ever able to hire anyone to help you, just freelancing, maybe somebody helps you a little bit, you have a structure in place and a system in place that they can follow. Now, some of this isn't about just onboarding. This has to do with marketing as well. You can do batch writing for your marketing, especially your social media marketing, maybe even your emails. You can write your emails in advance and coming up with a system on when the emails go out, what dates do you create emails, and putting some of that structure in place can allow you to write emails, write social media content for 90 days in advance. And therefore, instead of you having to do everything in real time, and depending on how you feel that day, the pressure you have that day, the responsibility you have that day, you can actually carve out a day in a month for you to sit down, write up all the marketing you need, create all of the newsletters that you need, have all of that created and scheduled for the next 30, 60, and 90 days so that your business can run while you work with your clients. So it's a little bit of creating a divide and conquer, even though you're a solopreneur. All right? Does that make sense to everyone? Does that concept sound right? Oh, look at my slides. I ended up having that image over. It's a little too big. I'm just going to fix that really quick because I want you guys to be able to see it. But let me know in the comments, does that make sense that you would almost create this 2-laned path for your business so you would be able to work on things in advance, work on materials that are going to allow you to build your business in advance, and also create this wonderful opportunity for you to truly get ahead because everything doesn't have to happen in real time. All right. Now let's get to our next slide. I want to talk about the offer. This is a really, really, really important thing when you're trying to scale your business, when you're trying to expand. For many people, where your expansion comes from is revenue growth. And one of the ways to do that is to make sure that you have the right offer mix in place. Now, what I find for most people is you have maybe an offer that works for you, even an offer that people are very happy with. But for a lot of people, we don't have a couple of the offers that can make a difference in your business. And often when you're new or you're just starting your business, it's hard to start with a higher end offer because you're not sure if the customers will pay for it. You're not sure if the customers would be willing to, go for those bigger numbers. I know sometimes emotionally it can feel like, would they pay me for that? And sometimes that's a question. But once you've been in business for a while, you can build that confidence. Once you've been in business for a while, you can get a sense of what people are interested in. And what I find is for some of us, one of the ways to grow our business is to look at our offerings and actually see if there is a way for us to create a higher tier offer. Now, that higher tier offer, not everyone's going to take it. But one thing we make a mistake on when we are in business at times is we think that those higher end offerings are out of reach for everyone. And the reality is not everyone is going to go for that offer. But if you were able to take your current highest offer and double it, how would that change your business? So if you had clients that you work with for 3 months, if you were able to change that into a 6-month offer, would that change your business? Because that means you don't need 2 customers, you only need 1. If you took your highest end program and doubled that cost or doubled that price tag, now obviously we want to increase what you're offering. We want the value to still be there. But the idea is there may be somebody out there who wants a more intensive program, who wants more support from you. And the idea is you still may have the majority of your customers buying your current offering, but if you were able to get 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 clients in the next 12 months to take that next level, that would change your business drastically from a revenue standpoint. And that's how you get growth. You're not trying to drive growth by changing everything in your business at times. You're not trying to drive growth by removing offerings that work and offerings that your customers are really happy with. Often you can get growth by adding an additional higher end intensive coaching package out there for people who want it, want faster results, and can afford it. And it can be a great way for you to lift your revenue. All right. A question came in. We were talking about creating those templates. So a question came in, do you have like a master brochure broken up into individual pages? So it's one page and you drop the desired page into the new file that you send to clients. So the way I do it is my master is all pages. So my master is probably 18 and 20 pages. I have to look at it again. It's a big document. And what I do is I take that, I save it as, so basically I duplicate it. And then I take out the offerings that don't make sense, the offerings that aren't right for that customer. So I start with a big file and remove. And what happens is I start with that basic kind of big brochure. So I always have one master big brochure that I pull from or eliminate from. I probably should say it's a better way to do it. And that's how I approach it. And I found that has saved me a ton of time and really helped. Cool. Glad I can answer your question. All right. The other thing to think about from an offer standpoint when you're trying to grow your business is finding an evergreen offer. And what I mean by that is thinking about an offer that you can give to people that doesn't require your attention or time. Meaning once you set it up, they can use it and leverage it. Now, often this is going to be a lower end option. This is going to be something that's going to be more of an entry option. And I love doing this because what it does is it helps you in your marketing to separate people who are considering working with you and who would be a paying customer. Because for some people, they're just not sure. They're not maybe ready to invest $100. They're not be ready to invest $500, $1,000. But if you had an evergreen offer that maybe allowed someone to get started for $30, $40, $50, depending on your business, that number could be higher or lower. And if it's an offer that people can buy or purchase without you spending more time and effort on it to maintain it, it can be an offer that people can kind of grab off the shelf. This is when people move into things like little or micro courses. These are things that people could sign up on your website, get a taste of what it's like to learn from you, actually buy these items, get some experience with it, get some results, and then they could decide to come back and work with you as a coach one-on-one. The idea is that you're trying to turn your offers into things that are leverageable. Now, remember, this isn't the thing that's going to necessarily bring in more revenue. What this tool is doing is it's helping you identify in your customer base people that may be interested in working with you. It's helping you build a pipeline. It's helping you separate between the people who are maybe just on your list and just checking you out and people who are saying, I'm willing to invest, but maybe not at that bigger level yet. And by setting some of these things up, once you set them up, they can run for a full year without you maybe tinkering with it, working on it, updating it, and therefore it can generate a little bit of revenue, but really be a great way for people to get started. All right. Next idea is expanding your coaching impact. One of the things that has really changed for me when I've been building out my business is finding ways to be more support, to help people between meetings. Because one of the things that's been so hard is time. And what I had to find is that there are ways that I can support people and it doesn't cost me as much time. And let me give you an example. I used to have a lot of my clients email me. I really am not a big email fan. A couple of different reasons. There's just so much email that comes in, there's so much spam that comes in, and then there's stuff that just comes in that I have to address, something going on with the hosting company, something I have to fix for, some Google setting or something like that. And what was happening is it was hard to sort through all of that information and all of those details. So what I wanted to do is create an express lane for my clients. I wanted to create a place where if they have a question or they're stumped on something, they can get in touch with me quickly, but I could respond in a format that was fast for me. Now, for some of you, writing emails may be fast, simple, easy. For me, it's not. It's a little bit time consuming. It's just something that I struggle with. So what I started to do is say, let me use WhatsApp. Now, some people use direct messaging apps in social media tools. I love WhatsApp because it's a great way for me to set up kind of a channel, almost in a sense, for anyone that I'm coaching, that if they have a quick question, they can jump on there and ask me. And then I can hit a little button and I can say it back. I can speak it back. I'm much better and faster at expressing what I'm thinking or what I'm planning or giving ideas or understanding what an issue is and giving a recommendation. It's in that same coaching lane that I do if I was on a Zoom call in an actual coaching session. What I've done is found a platform that allows me to do it in micro sessions and in an easy way so that I can support my clients, so that I can support people as they move forward. And it's in a way that because I don't have anything else going on in WhatsApp, as an example, other than my client conversations, I don't have any other noise to distract me in those channels. And I don't have anything else that's kind of bogging me down. Now, for some of you, it may be a different tool. I also use Slack for clients. And for others, you may find a different tool. But my point here is finding the right communication tool may help you service your clients better, faster, and also make sure between meetings that clients don't get stuck and don't get frustrated. I also use WhatsApp as a way to just check in. Say, hey, how's it going? How's your day going? Did you have a great weekend? A way for us to build some rapport. So think about these tools because this is a way that if your coaching becomes more impactful, it will help you grow your business because you'll get better testimonials. You'll also be able to get greater impact for your clients. And what happens is your clients will become that kind of group out there that tells the world about how great you are. And therefore, this is a way I found that I can increase my coaching impact without necessarily increasing and adding hours and hours of my time. All right. Yes, someone had a quick question. Will this be available later? Absolutely. It will be available on our website. If you go to our website and look for webinars, you will see this webinar and actually all the webinars that we do, so you will be able to access it. All right. The other thing is I use apps. If you're a person that teaches people how to transition to a vegan diet or teaching people how to eat healthy and so forth, one thing you can do is look for apps that can support you. Apps that either you get a copy of that information because you guys are maybe on a partnership deal, or an app that a client can capture their information and share it with you. This is an app that I've used in the past, just for me personally, where I take pictures of the things I'm eating. So I get a sense of how healthy I'm eating in the day because, sometimes we don't eat with the most, being present. Sometimes we're just grabbing food. And I loved that when I did this helped me get a sense of what I was doing. So if you use something like this with a client might not only be able to give you a better sense of what they're eating during the day and how they can make some of those changes, but also it helps them drive a little bit of self-awareness. And it's a fun way to journal. As you can see here, I had grapes one time, I had a smoothie another time, and I had a couple pretzels in there. So I find putting these tools in place can really, really change your business. The other thing is think about your repeatable task. One of the ways to get more out of what you do is to not only batch what we talked about earlier, the idea of, finding out what those tasks are. And instead of doing them once a week, instead of doing them twice a week, you pull them forward and complete as many of your repeatable tasks at the beginning of the month for the entire month. The other thing you can do is you can work with a freelancer. Now, I don't want you to expand your team. I don't want you to go out there and hire people. And I don't want you to feel like the only way you can grow is if you start managing a ton of people. That's not what I'm recommending here. What I'm recommending here is finding someone who can support you on tasks that you do all the time. And in many cases, this doesn't have to be ongoing support. This can be a person that comes in once a month, once every 2 months, maybe even 2 or 3 times a year, and they help you set up things for your business for the next 90 days. They help you set up all of your emails and schedule all your emails and do all the design work and set everything up. And once they have it all scheduled, it's good to go. And therefore, you're not managing a person day to day, week to week, tracking hours. Instead, they can help you with that batch work and those tasks that need to get done. And because you're doing it on a project basis, you can decide, okay, I'm going to invest 200 in this, 300 in this, whatever that amount in to bring in a freelancer to have them work on things for a set number of hours. And then you can measure your return on it because, like we talked about before, we can look at the work you're doing. If they help you schedule and plan out all of your social media live tasks, and we know every time you do a social media live, you're able to identify X amount of prospects, X amount of customers. Now, what we're able to do is saying by outsourcing and having somebody work maybe $300 on this, I can get more out of that marketing channel and I can ensure that I get clients to cover that cost. Now, here's the thing about this. Anytime you're asking for someone to help you, anytime you're thinking about hiring a freelancer, I only want you to have somebody work on tasks that are impactful in your business. Where most people make the mistake here is they tend to outsource the things that get on their nerves. They tend to outsource the things that they're like, I just don't understand it. Can't I just give it to someone? And that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about tasks and things that have proven well for you. I want you to think about tasks and things that have performed well. And what you're asking someone else to do is really repeat those tasks and help you get them done faster or more efficiently. But you're asking them to work on something that's already proven and already yields results. Number one, because that's how we're going to pay for it. And number two, we really don't want to bring somebody in to go figure it out. That as a solopreneur can be draining and also send your business in a totally different direction. What we really want is support and someone who helps you take what works better, faster, and more efficient. All right. Couple more slides and then we're going to wrap things up. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat or drop them in the comments on social media because I definitely want to make sure I address them. And don't worry, if you watch this as a replay, if you watch this later, you can always drop those questions in there because we will check them out. Okay? Couple last things is I also want to make sure that when you're expanding your business, you're doing things one step at a time. And what I tend to do is when I'm trying to make drastic change in my business, I try to just work on 1 or 2 priorities a month. And what that means is if I'm changing something, that month is focused on that change. That month is focused on that new process I'm putting in place. That month is focused on the new software that I'm trying to get set up so that I can make it a better experience for my clients. And therefore, it's not me trying to do everything at once and then they spill over into multiple months of projects. I can hyper focus. I know what's my priority. And when more things kind of pile up on my list, I sit back and say, well, wait a minute, what's my priority for the month? And making sure that on a weekly basis, I am spending enough time to get that done. Okay? And then the other thing is where some of us fall down when it comes to expansion is we want it so fast. We want it to just happen, that we don't give a project enough time to make the impact it needs in our business. So what I don't want you to do is pick a whole bunch of things to do. I don't want you to try to do everything I've been talking about and even more, maybe things that a friend recommended, a colleague recommended, or something you saw. What happens is when you're working on all of them and you're hoping that, okay, I did 3 Facebook Lives like Stephanie said, where's my results? That may not be enough time. you may have to go through the process of doing lives, getting better at lives, getting enough people to show up on live or replays. You may have to get better at your descriptions or your flow of them and how do you turn them into clients. And I want you to understand that growth takes time and investment to yield. And that's why it's so important you pick your priorities well. That's why it's so important you don't work on everything and dilute your efforts. We really have to figure out what are the winners for your business, what are the things that can really make that change, and give your business the months it may need to yield those results, the months that you need to perfect it and get even better at delivering the results and the new process. And then finally, try to limit all the multitasking. Try not to do a gazillion things at once. And really, when you start a project, think of the end in mind. Think of, I'm going to work on this and get this done by when? Like I gave the example earlier, how I set up my brochure. I sat down and said, okay, I'm going to create this brochure and I want to have this brochure done by this date. I have a new project I'm working on right now where I'm working on a paid podcast. I had a start date when I was going to work on all the logistics. And then I have an end date on when that paid podcast whole process has to be set up. And I know where I am. I know where that date's supposed to be. I know what needs to be done by that date. So therefore, it doesn't turn into an endless process and an endless project or an endless me tweaking it, making it a little bit better because I don't know how to let it go. Instead, I actually said, I have this amount of time to work on it. This is what I'm going to get done. And this is when I'm going to let the project kind of end so that I can release it to the world, release it to my customers, allow people to enjoy it, use it, give me feedback, and then I can revisit it and evaluate that impact. And I want you to do the same. And then finally, remember, some things you have to move on from. Some projects aren't working because you're working on too many projects. Some things aren't working because the timing's not right. And sometimes it's really about that focus that moves you forward as opposed to everything. So I really want to make sure that you are willing to let some things go or let things simmer so you can focus on one or two things at a time. Yes, you may want to get everything I talked about today done, but instead of trying to do it all at once, do number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and so forth, because that patience and that pacing can really make a difference. Oh, Stacy, thanks for being here. So glad to see you. Hope I see you on the next one. And thanks for your comments along the way. All right. So that's everything I have for today. That's everything that I wanted to cover. Those are all the ideas. If you have any questions, please, or comments or feedback, or if you enjoyed today's session, let me know in the comments. I always love to be able to help everyone. I always love to be able to give people ideas and recommendations. Now, I know for some of you, you're like, I love this stuff, but I want more. Stephanie, I want more training. I want to know how to do it. Can you do screen shares? Can you show me, how you set up some of these processes, how you go live, what tools you use, and so forth. I love showing those things. And I do them in my workshops. Every single month, I do a live workshop, and every month we pick a different topic. So I highly recommend that you check them out. If you're looking for additional training, I think our next one this month is for email marketing. But if there's anything you're really interested in, I highly recommend you go to our website and check it out. On our website, you'll notice at the top, there's an option that says Learn and Work with Us. If you click on that, on the left-hand side, as you can see with that blue arrow, it will say Live Workshops. That page will update every single month and let you know when our next live workshop is going to be and what we'll be teaching. So if you want more from us, if you really want us to support you in a greater way, I highly recommend you visit those workshops. But if you're not ready for it, it's not in the budget, no worries. Please continue to come to our free webinars. I love having you here. I love the opportunity to teach, to train, to give you feedback and ideas. And I hope you stay around. I hope you connect with me. I'm on LinkedIn, and I love connecting with people that not only join our sessions, but it's just so great to get connected, to stay networked, and hear about what you're doing. So I highly recommend You check me out on LinkedIn. Fairly easy to find me if you just type in Stephanie Redcross. I should pop right to the top. And I invite you to connect with me so we can continue this conversation. I can get to know you. And like I said, no pressure for our workshops. They're just an opportunity to go to that next level. But what I do want to make sure is that we stay connected and I continue to support you in any way I can. So thank you everyone for joining us live. I'm going to end our live broadcast on social media. So thanks everyone. I will see you next time. But my folks in Zoom, hang tight for me. I'm just going to come in there and see if you have any questions before we wrap up, and I'm going to say goodbye there. But everyone on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter, thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me live. Thank you for joining me as a replay. And I can't wait to see how you expand and scale your business as a solopreneur. All right. Bye, everyone.